Right, hello. Let's just gonna check. Um, give 2 seconds. So, in case you can hear me, just let me know in the chat. That would be good. Apparently, don't hear me. That's not good. Yeah, fuck. Right. I think we've got everything now sorted. Sorry for the technical difficulties, which I hope everything is now truly sorted. So, nonetheless, we've got Neil currently as our pole sitter. Well, first of all, I should quickly do a quick intro to make up for it. So, basically, welcome to Bahrain, welcome to pre-season. This is obviously not the first round, even though you didn't really need to know that. Obviously, pre-season gave that away. But yeah, pre-season, obviously, we are at. Obviously, still got Charlie and Dandan to do a lap. Dandan currently seems like he is committed on a lap, so we'll follow on board with the McLaren driver. So far, the two Aston Martins, the two Alpines are doing a good job at the moment, up in second and fourth so far with 129s. And currently, Neil is currently your top driver within the session overall. Overall, we'll just see what Dandan can do. Obviously, Charlie Harris is ahead of Dandan, so obviously Charlie will begin his lap soon as Dan finishes his own, effectively. I'm pretty sure that's the Ferrari head. Anyway, around the final corner for what is going to be then Dan's first lap, and immediately goes on to pole. And in fact, Charlie has done a lap. He's gone P10. So Dan is on pole by now a tenth of a second from Briggsy, from Kev King, and Man's Not Bob in fifth. So that is your current pole sitters or pole times for then this qualifying session. Obviously, Man's Not Bob, I think, is on an outlap, so we'll go to someone else who is maybe improving. And Top House Vlogger is improving by 7 thousandths. However, his middle sector doesn't seem to be as strong. Overall, his middle is down by about a tenth and a half. So that's not going to be ideal for the Alfa Romeo driver. So he'll run around the final corner, but dives back into the pit lane. So, yeah, Stuart don't seem to be on a flyer either. Who is on a flyer? Appledorm isn't on one. So we'll see what Brian can do. Maybe Brian will show us how to do a flying lap around Bahrain, hopefully. And he's a tenth and a bit down in the first. So that's a tenth and a bit down on his own split time. So effectively isn't improving. That's the end of the story there. But obviously still has 2 more sectors to make up. It does go a bit wide on the exit. And I don't think this is going to be improving. We'll remain on board just for the middle sector to see where he is on. Or where he can get up to. Hopefully he can get a little bit more up the order. Currently sat in 15th, and he's actually now a 10th up, so is actually now improving on his lap, and improving by just over a tenth of a second. So this would potentially see him go back into 15th, maybe up into 14th. Currently that's where Appledorm is, but he's actually decided to commit into the pit lane instead and abandon that lap. Now let's see what LCC can do, because he is on, well, I presume is on another hot lap here, and around the final corner, and does a 32.8 and does move him off the rear row of the grid, I think, not really row, moves him off last place. So he's no longer last. That's what I was trying to say there. Man's Not Bob has also improved up into third. So that's a decent attempt by him. And he's now obviously in third. So, yep, he's certainly improved his lap time. So, Neil is on an out lap. So, these might be the final laps for some of the drivers. Stewart is now on a flying lap and 2 tenths up. So, this would see him move into the 29s. But how much by? That will be the ultimate question to be told. And it's a 29.9. So moves by 3 thousandths of a second ahead of Kev King, who is currently P6 for AlphaTauri. So not bad by him. Iron Kid, what can he do? He's invalidated. Zonnevild, how is he going to do out there in this session? And Zonnevild, 54 thousandths down in the first. So still got to try and find time in the middle, obviously. Middle is where most of the lap time is at around Bahrain anyway, so for Zonnevild. This is a good, this is where the time can be won or lost around this Bahrain circuit. And he does have a bit of a toe in front of him. Now, hopefully the AlphaTauri ahead, I'm not really too sure which one that is, but hopefully they don't impede him along the slap, so that would be unideal. Obviously, though, will benefit from the toe, and you can see, in fact, he's actively searching for the slipstream, so thinking that might just find him an extra few thousandths or tenths of a second round the final corner of turn 15, and we'll come to the line now. Is this going to be an improvement? Yes, it is, and it's actually a very, very nice jump by Zonnevild to get ahead of Top Car Vlogger, who now is also on a lap and is improving by 2 tenths of a second himself. Not really sure what his middle sector was, but in the first he was 2 tenths up already, so if he's improved in the middle, that will be maybe even more time. Obviously currently in 13th, Zonnevild went a bit quicker, but comes back in and decides to abort that lap. Now we'll have time to obviously go again, I think, or will he? Because he's actually only got 2 minutes and 40 remaining. It's a long drive down to the end of the pit lane, and obviously still got to put on a new set of tyres, get the turnaround done, and get back out there. So that's going to be really, really tight for Top Car Vlogger to obviously get a lap in at the end of this session. Anyway, we'll see what Brian can do. This no doubt will be his final effort as Neil goes back to the top, and in fact we completely missed Neil's time as Charlie has done a 26.6, so Charlie also now inside the top 3. So currently Neil, Dan and Charlie are your top 3 here in this Bahrain pre-season race. Then Kev King is currently in 7th, then Zonnevild in 12th, and we'll go back to Brian, who we were watching, see what he can do, and we'll see if he can improve and get further up the order. First sector wasn't too bad, middle sector is a lot better, so 2 tenths up. Obviously this is going to have to be it for Brian, because he won't have any more time to get in and get back out, so this will be the final attempt at least from Brian. Neil, I think, has also done his final attempt, so I think pretty much then only Dan can probably beat Neil and probably take that crown off Neil for pole. So, right, we'll see who's the first driver around, and Dan's not going to be one of them, so Man's Not Bob. Well, actually, we'll go with Breezy. So he's going to be one of the top first runners around, so one of the top 5 runners to commit to a lap then here. And Piers is behind then. Dan obviously currently still in the final sector, but yeah, Breezy is going to be one of the first cars to commit to a lap then here, and is 3 tenths up by Briggsy then in this first sector of the lap. That's a decent improvement, and we go on now board with the Alpine driver up into turn 9. Bit wide, taking a bit more of a Kimi Raikkonen line, however, goes very, very deep on the exit there, and that's going to cost him a lot of time then out on that one and up the straight into turn 11. Still takes a nice turn through 11, up through 12, again a bit wide, not taking the narrowest of lines, through 13, is still 2 times up though, so that's still a decent improvement by the Alpine driver of Briggsy, who is committed onto the lap. So as I said, Neil and Charlie are done for this session, so only really Dan inside the top 3 could be one of the top 3 drivers to improve. So here comes Briggsy, one of the top 5 drivers to go on to then pole position for Briggsy. So that's provisional pole for the Alpine driver. Then here, Alfa Romeo's top house flogger has spun. So we'll go to the next Alpine driver, which then is Mans Not Bob. And Dan isn't too far behind him actually. Einkid goes into 3rd. So a good improvement by Einkid to take P3 then here. What is going to be the lap time for Mans Not Bob? He's only 4 tenths currently off pole position. Can he improve by those 4 tenths? Is he going to take pole position? Yes, he is. Now we'll go back to Dan. Can he improve? He's currently already improving, but is it going to be enough? No, misses out by 14 thousandths, is it? Or something like this, or by 8 thousandths. It's a really, really close qualifying, but literally by thousandths of a second, then it's Mans Not Bob on pole. Should be actually now Mans got a pole. Really, that would make a lot more sense. But Mans Not Bob has finally taken pole position in ERL, and that, I'm not sure if it's his first ever pole position, but it's a perfect way to start pre-season for Mans Not Bob, and I'm sure he'll be pretty pleased with that lap, and pretty sure that is then the order then for the grid, and yeah, that will be then your starting grid for this Bahrain pre-season Grand Prix. So, Mans Not Bob on pole position for pre-season then, and by 6 thousandths of a second ahead of Dan. Briggsy in 3rd, Neil 4th, Einkid 5th, Charlie Harris 6th, Stewart in 7th, Top House Flogger in 8th, then Kev King in 9th, and Cavolis rounding out the top 10. FC Charlie D. I don't know. The Aston Martin driver in 11th. I always get his name wrong. I do apologise. Tom in 12th. Robbo 13th. Zonneveld 14th. Top Car Flogger 15th. Appledorn 16th. Brian in 17th. Piers, I think, was 18th. And then don't really know who were the final 2 at the back of grid. But nonetheless, yes. It should be a one-stop, really, this race. I predict. Well, I know. So, yeah, one stop really this should be. Medium to hards, or maybe you can do medium to softs if you're ambitious. But, yeah, medium to hards or hard mediums is the way to go around here. And that will be the strategy probably for all 20 of the drivers. And it's good that it's been a full turnout. So that is obviously one good thing there has been. So, it is 5 red lights, and it is lights out, and away we go. Then, for the Bahrain Grand Prix, it looks like Mans Not Bob got a decent start into turn 1. No one obviously sending it, which is good. Everyone has got around turn 1 nice and cleanly by the looks of it. Neil, however, has lost out a number of positions on that start, and he's down in 6th. We're seeing Appledorn making up a move on Zonneveld then for P15, and I think we may have a safety car. Yep, it's a virtual safety car. So it's our first virtual of the day. Hopefully that won't be a sign or indication of anything to come, but first safety car of the day, and drivers will now have to respect a delta and then follow that obviously accordingly. So obviously virtual is out, so everyone will respect that delta, and once then they respect that, there's the possible race strategies, as you can see, as I said. Medium hards, or hard medium mediums, I'm not sure that's a great strategy, the second one. But yeah, nonetheless, medium hards is going to be the way for the drivers to go around here. And they'll get back on it now. And in fact, Manzanar Bob caught a bit out by that safety car restart, or virtual safety car restart, because his teammate Briggsy really on the gearbox of his teammate, as then he goes down the straight. Manzanar Bob obviously setting the fastest lap 1 of the race, 1:51. But here goes Iron Kid around the outside. Can Iron Kid go for it? Also got Briggsy sending a little bit on the inside, but Iron Kid manages to go around the outside of both of them, but Manzanar Bob got a brilliant exit on turn 3. Up the hill then into turn 4 we go, and you can see the Ferrari driver is still there, car number 5, in the image of Sebastian Vettel, and Iron Kid is doing literally a brilliant move on the inside at turn 4, but this fight is still going to continue on into turn 8, up the hill then into turn 9. Obviously Manzanar Bob will have the inside line for 10, which will benefit him massively, but they're still fighting through 10, and Manzanar Bob has been tagged a little bit by Iron Kid, and I think Iron Kid has finally secured the move, because now Iron Kid is, well, not under pressure as much, and you can see Manzanar Bob off the track, losing out now to the McLaren and to his teammate of Briggsy, and we'll go back to the McLaren, who has now got both Alpines behind him. So that camera angle ain't that great, but nonetheless we'll come off that camera angle. We'll go just back onto then our rear end shot of the McLaren, which shows the rear wing and shows you what's going on behind. Now we'll go back to the broadcast camera then. So obviously it's really close and good racing so far. Obviously a little bit of contact between drivers, so do hope they do know it's not a contact sport, but nonetheless these drivers have been driving with each other for about 3 years now, so it's a really good grid that certainly know each other's limits well, which is always going to be better for racing, of course. Nonetheless, Dan looking at then potentially a move on Iron Kid, who currently leads the way on this 3rd lap of the race, and Iron Kid then into turn 8 still remains ahead then of himself. We'll go a little bit back, see if anyone else is making a move, and we've got a huge DRS train at the moment, really close between the field, which is great to see. And then it is a little bit more further field spread at the back. We've got these 3 train of cars at the back here. But yeah, we'll go back to the Alpha first, because really that's where all the action appears to be at the moment. And ultimately Iron Kid is doing a fantastic job in P1, but can he hold on? Obviously DRS now will be active, and therefore anyone within a second of Iron Kid will benefit from that extra drag reduction down the straight into turn 1. However, there is a DRS zone at the end of turn 1, so potentially it might not be worth too much, but it looks like a double move in here by then Dan and Briggsy. Briggsy on the inside, can he get that move done on the Ferrari, or will Iron Kid fight back? And I think Iron Kid is fighting back, and now Iron Kid will have the DRS, to help him out in his defence. Then here, going up the hill into turn 4. Won't be close enough to make a move on Dan, but will be close enough to, or will be far enough ahead to keep the position from the two Alpines. So not too bad of a loss actually there for Iron Kid. That is pretty decent actually from the Ferrari driver to hold on to P2, because next time around, so long he remains now within a second, obviously it'll be him benefiting from obviously the DRS. And now Iron Kid in fact gonna probably retake the lead on this straight into turn 11, as he's done with the DRS, as Dan made a bit of an error in turn 10 and went very, very wide, and unfortunately costing himself the position to the Ferrari. And Man's Not Bob is now looking maybe at hunting down the McLaren and getting past the McLaren of Dan then here. But once again, Iron Kid is going to be the one who will be vulnerable to the DRS and will be vulnerable to Dan. We do have a yellow flag in Sector 2 or Sector 3, and that is then a safety car, as Lange has unfortunately, by the looks of it, retired from this Grand Prix, and that is then our first retirement of the season. Now, a few cars are taking this opportunity to pit. Obviously, for the leaders, a lot of them unfortunately missed the pit lane by the time the safety car did come out. So, yeah, this is obviously the first opportunity for drivers to pit. Probably isn't going to be the wisest of opportunities to do the pit stops. Obviously, if you're in the back, I can understand it. You've got nothing to lose. But if you're probably at the head of the field, you know, really, actually, this is probably more of a better sort of like for those looking to extend towards the softs. Because, you know, as I say, there is two strategies that you could put at play here. You can either go medium hards, or you can probably go medium softs. And in fact, we're going to have a quick look at the tyre war, or what's going on with the tyres. So, here we go then, we're going to get up the gap. So, there we go, that is literally what the tyres look like. So, obviously, we've got FCTHD E on the hards, and we've got Top Car Flogger on the hards. Then we've got Iron Kid, and pretty much all the top 10, all on the medium compound. And also, we've got Robbo and ERL PREs on the mediums as well. So that's your tyre strategy. Let's have a look at who's made up what in terms of positions. So, we got obviously Iron Kid up 4 so far. And overall, we got also Tom up 3. We've got Appledorm, he's up 6 positions in this race. Down the most positions, unfortunately, is Charlie Harris. He's unfortunately crashed down into 17th, which is a bit unfortunate. And Kev King also down in 9th. So them two are the biggest losers so far in this race. However, with the safety car, obviously this will allow them drivers that, you know, basically fell away from the leading pack to sort of catch up, and it'll reignite their races, I suppose. So that's, I guess, the benefit of that. And Tom is into the pit lane, so he's one of the, I think, top 8 drivers, or first top 8 driver to pit in this race. Right, so safety car is returning into pits this lap. How do we get rid of the, not that, wasn't actually that quickly back up. So there we go. So, safety car is in, and we are going to go restart racing, are we? I think we are restarting. Anyway, looks like a good start by Iron Kid then, who seems to have breached the gap a little bit to Man's Not Bob on this safety car restart. Dan is then in P2, and he's now chasing down being chased down by Man's Not Bob. And Man's Not Bob goes for it on the inside at turn 4. Both leave each other good room, and through turns 5 and 6, it's actually Dan who's ahead into 7, and Dan keeps ahead. But good racing and good respect by the pair of them, by Dan and by obviously Man's Not Bob. So yeah, that was a good piece of racing on display by them two. So lap then 7 of the Grand Prix, and currently Neil obviously in then 6th, and a little bit of a battle going on here for 8th and 7th. Then obviously Appledorm on the back. Obviously Appledorm's made up already 6 positions. Now must be about 7 or 8 actually. So this will be for his 9th position of the race. Can he send it down the inside? No, not quite. But did have a little look. And obviously no DRS will be enabled for the first 2 laps now of this safety car restart. So therefore if drivers are going to get the move done, going to have to do it organically. And obviously that's a lot harder when you don't have the DRS to do a move organically, unless you've got a significant, offset in terms of tyres or just natural raw car speed, and not really going to be an easy task, but nonetheless, I'm sure he will try, but dropped a little bit back on this lap, so therefore we'll go back a little bit more to the front 3 to see what they can do in then the next few laps. We are getting closer to the pit stop phase, so soon we might see drivers dive in and put on new sets of tyres. Probably that won't begin until lap 12, but we are getting ever so closer then here. And that will be, I suppose, good for Iron Kid and Dan and all the medium runners who were who are on those mediums, but then we'll have to see if anyone tries to offset the strategy a little bit and try to go for something else other than the normal. I do wonder whether the Alpines decide to split here, because obviously with the Alpine drivers being so close, and the same maybe with the Alfa Romeos being so close, it might make a bit of logical sense to try and do something a bit different to their teammates on this one, rather than follow what their teammate is going to do, because really, if they're going to follow what their teammate's going to do, it's going to be really a battle for them, or who first can get into the pit stops, rather than actually anything other than that. So yeah, it will be interesting to see if they do try just something else, maybe with Briggsy go long, and maybe Man's Not Bob goes for the conventional strategy. But yeah, still out front, it's Dan vs Iron Kid for the race lead on this one. And Dan has closed up a lot in this lap then. So obviously DRS I think will be now enabled. So that'll make obviously Iron Kid's life once again a lot harder. And well, currently maybe Dan can get the move done without any use of DRS as we head into turn 10. The one thing about Iron Kid, he's been really consistent. I haven't actually seen a mistake from Iron Kid so far. I'll probably now just put the commentator's curse onto that, but I haven't actually seen many racing errors from Iron Kid, whereas with Dan, there you go, he's actually given up track position to Man's Not Bob after another error, and that's probably the difference so far I've seen between the front 3. Iron Kid just seems like got a very cool head on his shoulders and doesn't really appear to be making any real drastic, errors out there compared to maybe Dan, unfortunately, who just seems to every now and again make an error here or there, which just costs him a little bit of time. But here comes Man's Not Bob then, with the DRS, down the inside, gets the position done into turn 1. He tries to obviously squeeze a little bit, actually, Iron Kid out, compromising Iron Kid's line, and I think that's going to work quite nicely for Man's Not Bob, because Iron Kid isn't going to be close enough to send it into turn 4, and is going to have to now stay in the dirty air of Man's Not Bob, who is now once again the race leader, took pole, and obviously got the pole position for the start of the Grand Prix, got away well off the line, and defended himself nicely down into turn 1. Lost the lead to Iron Kid on lap 2 or 3 of the race, with Iron Kid basically storming around the outside, and now Man's Not Bob is back up into then that race lead once again. How long can he hold it this time though? That, I suppose, will be the question now remain to be told. But so far it does actually look like he's got some decent pace. If he can just break maybe a little bit more, there is a chance maybe on the next lap he can break the DRS. But it's very, very tricky, because at the moment in this sector then, he'll be giving Iron Kid a lovely tow down that back straight. And as you can see, Iron Kid really has closed up to the back now of Man's Not Bob. And I think this is going to be another passing for the lead then here, about to commence on lap 10 of this race. So here we go then, Man's Not Bob getting chased down, and Man's Not Bob has now lost the lead of the Grand Prix, or has he? No, but has gone very, very deep into turn 2 or turn 1. That's going to compromise his line. Hits a little bit of Dan, who both of them get compromised. Obviously, Man's Not Bob did get the DRS though, so that's going to help him defend up into 4, and I think he should be safe, unless Dan is going to go for it. Dan might go for it. Dan, has he got it? They're still leaving each other enough space. Man's Not Bob on the inside, now on the outside. Both of them come together a little bit, making a bit of wheel and body contact, but it's Dan who has got himself up into P2, but crucially, Iron Kid has now broken that DRS. Iron Kid, during that battle, has actually now broken the 1 second margin that he would need if he doesn't want to be within the DRS, and now it'll be Man's Not Bob and Dan's duty to try and get back within Iron Kid's DRS. So how crucial is that going to be then here on lap 10 and lap 11 of this Grand Prix? Could this be where the Grand Prix is decided? In fact, Iron Kid is only extending even more. 1.8, that lead is growing more and more out front, as Iron Kid is now disappearing off into the distance, and Man's Not Bob fighting with Dan then for P2 in this race then. So this time Dan got the move done nice and early on, and there's no chance of Man's Not Bob coming back from that one. But we'll have DRS up into turn 4. Not really great on the battery, looks to be a little bit out of the juice, and that's going to hurt Man's Not Bob. Maybe this is why he's not been as quick in the last few laps, potentially here in this Bahrain Grand Prix. But for Iron Kid, he's now got a 1.6 second lead, and he's looking comfortable out front. But the battle between P2 and P3 looks to be going on and on into this lap and into this race, and that is going to be so crucial then in terms of how this one goes, because really it could go still anyway, and Iron Kid has now brought himself a 2 second advantage. So Iron Kid once again Dan once again being overtaken by Man's Not Bob, and Man's Not Bob back ahead. They fight up the hill into turn 12 and 13, and this is a great battle for then P2 and P3 at the moment. And really, the cars behind, I suppose, for Brigley, he's probably just got popcorn out and probably like a cinema movie, watching it all unfold in front of him. Probably is praying maybe one of them makes a mistake, or maybe the pair of them make a mistake. I'm not really too sure if he'd pray for that, but, you know, ultimately, maybe he wouldn't mind if they to, I suppose, not take each other out, but compromise each other enough where, you know, effectively, he can just roll on through, and you can just see this bout is fantastic between these two. And so much respect also been given, and it's going on for so long. But the trouble is, they're costing each other so much time. I think if I was them two at this phase in the race, I would decide now which one, stays ahead. Because you can't keep battling like this, in my opinion. They're just losing too much time out to Iron Kid. Iron Kid's almost got a 3-second advantage. And we're coming into now a very, very key element of the race, the pit stop phase. The pit stop window is now open, and this is where this race could be won or lost. And I'm sorry that, haven't given much time to the others, but, I just feel this battle is being so good for what is then, second, third, fourth, and fifth at the moment. It's a 4-car battle for the second spot on the podium. And, if Top Car Flogger can also join them, it'll be even a 5-car battle for the second spot on the podium at the moment. Currently, P1 seems to be checking out, though. He seems like he's decided, it's time to go and win this race, and doesn't seem to be basically looking back at his rivals. So, is Man's Not Bob in? Yes, he is. So, Man's Not Bob has pulled the trigger, but Man's Not Bob has only gone and given himself a 5-second time penalty. So, I think that might just bring Man's Not Bob out of contention for the race win of this one. So, what does Dan do? Obviously, Iron Kid also has to make a choice now. Obviously, I don't know if any of them are listening to the stream, so I don't know if any of them will know that obviously Man's Not Bob has got himself a 5-second penalty. Potentially they might, and if they do, maybe that'll influence their decision to whether or not to go any longer or to go shorter. But obviously for Iron Kid, he's got a 3.2 second lead. I suppose he doesn't need to react too much. I suppose the ones that do need to react is obviously Dan and Briggsy, who currently are in third and second, and Man's Not Bob now has got a 3-second penalty. So I think for Man's Not Bob, this might not be his race, and ultimately this, I think, has decided his fate for today. But now what can Briggsy do, the other Alpine, who's actually closed up well to the back of Dan? Now Briggsy is an interesting one for me, because obviously now Briggsy, he's the driver who I think who could be one of the most at play. So immediately, by the looks of it, all these three are responding to that stop by Man's Not Bob, and they all come in without getting penalties, and all going for the same hard strategy then here. No one's taken the risk to be undercut by Man's Not Bob, and there we go. That will see then Top Car Flogger take the lead of the Grand Prix on lap 15 of the race. Now, I just want to quickly check what is the tyre situation. So, in fact, the top 3 have all done their pit stops. However, they're going to be on seriously high wear tyres. So, can they get them to the end? That, I suppose, will be the difficult question that will be answered sooner rather than later. But I think Charlie obviously has to pit again. He's on 13-lap old mediums. With Tom and actually Top Car Flogger, they don't have to pit again. And how much are they ahead of Iron Kid? I think they're almost about a good 18 seconds ahead. They are 18.6 seconds ahead. So it's a big gap to chase down in the final 15 laps of race. I think Iron Kid should be able to do it. I think obviously Tom and Top Car will probably pit again. Maybe not Tom, actually. To be fair, he's got the youngest tyres of the top 3. So that is going to be a key factor in this race. And I actually haven't really kept too much of my eye upon these drivers, because obviously been so impressed by the driving out front, and with the battles that have been out front. But we'll see what happens with them. Anyway, we'll go back to the middle sector. So right, Iron Kid is trying to chase down then Appledorn, who's actually made a stop, and he's actually undercut. And you know what? The two in front, actually, Top House Flogger and Appledorn, have actually done an amazing job here. because well, Appledorm's got a penalty, but Top House Flogger, 4-lap hold hards, that's not too bad, and he's currently would be leading the Grand Prix legitimately. He's got Appledorm behind him, so this is a legitimate fight for position. And where have these two come from in this race? Obviously, clearly they decided to go for the undercut, and clearly the undercut has worked out an absolute treat for them, but, you know, ultimately, yeah, that is a surprising result to see them, you know, ahead. And Iron Kid now is going to have to deal with a bit of adversity once again, because his lead has all but been destroyed. Obviously, he does have the protection of the fact both the two cars behind him have got time penalties, but yeah, Iron Kid's race, you know, in terms of his lead, has been pretty much quashed. And now for Iron Kid, he's going to have to fight to not just get ahead of Top House Flogger and Appledorm, but we'll have to fight to even, you know, take the lead of the Grand Prix even here. So, yeah, a lot of racing to happen in these final few laps, and this race is far from over. So, lap 20, lap 17 we are on now. So, I think we're going to see a bit of a change of position here coming from Appledorm with the DRS down the inside at turn 1. Is Top House Flogger going to be able to defend it? He's left room, obviously, nicely, and that is good to see once more, but Appledorm's got the DRS around the outside. He'll go into turn 4, but Top House Flogger, I think, may just be able to defend this one out then here, but it's going to be the drive into turn 5. Then they go, and on the outside, Appledorm gets the position done. Absolutely lovely by by Appledorm around the outside of them there, and is now ahead of the Alfa Romeo. Now we see Man's Not Bob going for it on Iron Kid, who's now ahead of Iron Kid and is now up into 6th, but does have a lot of penalties to be applied at the end of this race. So for, obviously, Iron Kid, I'm pretty sure he won't want to get in too much of a fight with Man's Not Bob, but will obviously want to stay ahead of Dan, as that's who he is fighting in this race at the moment, which we're watching right now. So, yeah, lap 17 of the race, and currently then, well, Appledorm would be your net race leader, however, does have penalty, so Top House Flogger would be the car on track to actually go and take the win on this one, potentially. But Top Car Flogger has got a 12-second lead, and right now, with the way these also drivers are battling, obviously their tyres are going to be falling off, and they're not really making too much, you know, of a dent into that lead of Top Car Flogger at the moment. It's only down to 12.4 seconds for them all, as Iron Kid's going to send it potentially on Top House Flogger, doesn't get the move done, so he will remain behind then the Alfa Romeo for another lap then here to come. Now the thing is, I know from the other day that ultimately you can do 20 laps on mediums, so I'm just trying to do the math. So you can do 20 laps on mediums, you'd probably have to give the hards an extra 3 or 5 laps of racing, and really in truth, if you can do 3 or 5 extra laps of racing, then ultimately for Top Car Flogger, he's still got probably enough tyre life left within those tyres actually to get to the end of this Grand Prix. That gap is now coming down to 10.8, so it is reducing actually now a bit more rapidly, which could be detrimental in this race. The thing is, when does Top Car Flogger and Tom decide to pull the plug? For Tom, I think he'll be the first one to react, if anyone, in terms of pulling the plug on this strategy. But, yeah, ultimately, for them two, they're trying to get them tyres, I presume, to the end of the race and trying to win this Grand Prix. But it is only 10.9, so we'll have to see what the gap comes down to on this lap. then, because I think this will be the key lap really, because if it's more than 10 seconds, then they'll need about a second a lap then to get that gap down over the rivals and over who they're fighting then here. So that's going to be the big question mark then, as we're on lap 19 of this race. Currently the gap's 10.2. So back to P2. Now Iron Kid, if he's going to go and win this race, I think this is going to have to be getting this move sooner rather than later, getting past Top House Vlogger. So this is going to be absolutely essential for Iron Kid's race to get this move done. Obviously, currently Top House Vlogger is now sort of losing a bit of time to then Appledorm, and in fact has lost the DRS. So for obviously Top House Vlogger, I'm not sure how we would defend down this straight from Iron Kid, but this is going to be an absolute key move to get done here for Iron Kid, because if he gets this done, I think this could be for the race win on then Top House Vlogger in terms of the way this one could go here in the end. So here we go then, lap 20 of the Grand Prix. Top House Vlogger has lost now the position. Here goes also Dandan on the inside. Is Dandan going to go for it as well on Top House Vlogger? Yes, he is. So Top House Vlogger has been passed not just by Iron Kid, but also by Dandan. And lap 20 then we start, and the gap is now 9 seconds between then the field. So that is literally the gap between the top three, and we're on now lap 20 of this race. Still would need a lot of time per lap, would still need to be taking about a second a lap out of Top Car Vlogger to go and win this one. Currently, Appledorm is doing just that. He's doing enough to get that gap down by enough to go and win this Grand Prix. So obviously Appledorm, Iron Kid are all going to be homing in now on that win. The only significant thing is, for obviously Iron Kid, he's got such better tyres than not just the car ahead potentially, but also compared to the two cars ahead of Appledorm, who is on much older tyres. So Appledorm, you know, obviously could be the corkscrew or whatever, maybe in the bottle, and ultimately this could be the deciding car then for Iron Kid, in terms of if Iron Kid gets past Appledorm, I think this win has to go to Iron Kid. There's no way, I don't think, obviously Iron Kid does not win this Grand Prix if Appledorm, you know, loses the position here. We do have a yellow flag out in Sector 2, or Sector 1, but is only temporary yellow. So here we go then, Iron Kid then making the move for the P3 in the Grand Prix. And is this going to be the move that really has won Iron Kid the Grand Prix? I think it is. But for Appledorm, he's off. Appledorm is down the order, plummeting down the order, and has lost the car, unfortunately. And for Appledorm, he is obviously now behind a lot of drivers in 11th, and he'll lose out on some potentially big points today. Obviously, it is only pre-season, so these points won't count. But yeah, right, Dandan versus then Iron Kid, I suppose, for the win of the race then here. So who's going to win this Grand Prix? Currently the lead is 7 seconds. Tom actually doing a really, really good job in gaining up to the back of Top Car Vlogger. But Dandan versus Iron Kid then should be for the win. Currently the gap is 6.7 seconds. I suppose for Dandan and Iron Kid, if I was them, I don't know, I really don't know what they do, because I don't want to see them fight too much, personally. The reason why I don't want to see them fight too much is because if they fight and squabble, ultimately I think that could be pretty poor judgment from the pair of them. So in a sense, they're going to have to be a bit of a teamwork here by, I think, the pair of them, because if they don't work as a team, they could end up taking time off each other, which they don't want to do in terms of when catching these, well, the two race leaders out front, who currently lead this race. And for Top Car Vlogger, Is he trying to do a Carlos Sainz potentially here? I'm not really too sure. I have my doubts. I don't think that would really work anyway against the two behind. So I think for Tom, he'll want to get this move done pretty speedily, actually, and get up into that first position, because if not, he will be, well, in a bit of trouble and is getting rapidly caught now by the car behind. Obviously, does have a lap younger tyres, which I'm not really too sure whether that will help him out or not, but yeah, the two behind are rapidly catching, especially Dandan. He's brought the gap down to 4.2 seconds on this lap alone. So actually, Dandan has actually really recovered well. Was obviously 3 seconds behind in the pit stop phase, but obviously traffic did help him out to catch up to the back of Iron Kid. And here we go then for the lead of the Grand Prix. Tom takes the lead with then 7 laps to go. So 7 laps remaining, and Tom is now your new race leader then here. And Tom then has taken this Grand Prix off Top Car Vlogger. Obviously between Dandan and Tom is a car, which could also again be key factor in terms of how this race plays out. Obviously now Dandan is starting probably to get to the point where tyre is starting to go, but then Dandan's tyre, Tom's tyre is probably gone even twice as more. So ultimately the degradation on those hards can't be great, ultimately, as they are approaching 20 laps then here. So Tom trying to break the toe a little bit then here, and trying to bridge out a second gap. That would be key in this race. 3.6 seconds separate then third and first at the moment, as we head on to then lap 24, and ultimately there'll be then 6 laps to go. This is then going really much down to the wire. Could even be a last lap situation then coming your way here. This is really getting close to call, because ultimately, whilst I think Dandan is now in pole position to take this win, but yeah, a lot can still happen with 6 laps to go, and ultimately I think even Tom could, something's just telling me at the back of my head, Tom can still win this Grand Prix somehow. And I don't know how he's going to do it, but I just get that feeling he could do it still, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, when you just get that feeling, you know, someone can do it. You know, that gap in the last few laps has seemed to have plateaued out, and it now seems to be stabilising around 3 seconds. It's only coming down very minor in certain parts of the track, but for a lot of the track actually, Tom seems to be just a little bit able to bridge out, you know, a tenth here, a tenth there, and doesn't appear to, you know, have much. And we've now got a yellow flag in sector 1, so for drivers that's only momentarily, so no safety car. Obviously a safety car at this stage would certainly benefit the front two the most then here. So it's come down to 2.8 now. Was obviously at 3.5 a lap ago then. So we've got 5 laps remaining, and the gap is at 2.6 seconds then. Last lap it was about 3.5, so now it's 2.5, 2.3 then between our race leaders. So then here we go then, lap 25, 5 laps of racing to go then. Obviously 4 including this one, obviously making 5. So can Iron Kid get back into it? Obviously Iron Kid has dropped off a little bit here in the dying endeavours of this race. Briggsy I don't think is going to be in this one. Man's Not Bob has got too many penalties. Charlie Harris has actually done a good job to get up to P7, so he's done a really good job. Obviously still a yellow flag now in sector 2, but it's only for a car going slowly, isn't for anyone stopped or crashed out of a Grand Prix. Ultimately that isn't going to make too much of a difference to anyone's race, it should not. So anyway, that's the gap then between the leaders, and you can just visually see how much closer. So, how quickly can Dan get past Top Car Flogger? That's going to be, I suppose, the key fundamental question. Can Top Car Flogger hold up hold up Dan, and maybe take this race win away from Dan? Is this going to be how it all plans out? Still searching for that slipstream, and Toe still trying to keep within the DRS, but has lost the DRS. That could be huge in terms of how this one goes, in terms of the battle down this straight. So, is Dan going to be close enough on this straight as we head on to lap 26 of the Grand Prix? And obviously, Dan is chasing, then Top Car Flogger isn't going to be close enough down the first straight, but then on the second straight going to be so much closer. What can Dan do into turn 4? I think ultimately Top Car Flogger has got a good enough exit and will remain ahead for now, and in fact got the DRS. So what does Tom do? Because obviously only 1.2 seconds is separating him and the leader. Does Tom fall a little bit back and give a bit of DRS to help out Top Car Flogger's defense here? Because right now Dan I think is going to probably breeze through Top Car Flogger pretty easily. I think once again Tom has given the DRS back to Top Car Flogger, and Dan is then still going to benefit a little bit from that. The DRS Top Car Flogger is. So lap obviously 26. Obviously doesn't want to let Top Car Flogger too close, but would want to keep Top Car Flogger maybe within the DRS just to help out his defense, because that is what it could all bubble down to in the end, is just the fact, you know, Tom let Top Car Flogger have that defense and had that DRS. Could this be a Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris repeat here, what we're watching? Obviously it's a lot wider, this track, but here then goes Dan. Obviously Dan's on the inside. Dan's got the position, moves ahead of Top Car Flogger, and that is Dan into P2 then here in this race. But can Tom or Top Car Flogger come back on the exit? Obviously is on those very worn tyres, and now then I think Dan is through safely into P2, and there is 3 laps to go of racing then here in the dying laps of this Grand Prix. Tom does, I think, not have enough, I don't think, anymore to keep this one off, but he's put up a very good effort and a good fight to obviously try and go and win this Grand Prix, despite the age of his tyres, despite being on significantly older, 9-lap older tyres. He's put up a very, very worthy fight of even a win today with 2 laps to go. But it's still not over yet. I'm speaking as if, you know, this is a now dead certain result for Dan. Obviously never say it's over until the fat lady sings, or until the checkered flag falls. And obviously Dan is currently on the verge of winning, but hasn't won yet. Still got 2 laps of racing to go. But down this straight, I really don't know how Tom defends. If Tom's got any ERS, I suppose he has to use all the battery pack he's got remaining left, if he's got anything. He does have a little bit, but it won't be enough as Dan comes flying through on the inside with 2 laps to go. Dan actually has gone a little bit deep, and that will allow Tom a bit of maybe a better exit then. This is going to be key and fundamental. If Tom can get back here, then it's going to put a little bit of pressure and more pressure then on Dan with a lap to go. But Dan has got through with 2 laps to go, about a lap and a half now in this race, and Dan is the race leader once again with a lap and a half to go. So it is going to be Dan's win for the taking then. Can now Iron Kid get the position then? And in fact, Tom has made a bit of an error out of turn 8, which is going to allow Iron Kid close up an awful lot, and this is going to help Iron Kid to get P2 then here. So obviously Tom is going to lose out another position, unfortunately, on the track, potentially to Tom. And it's a bit of a shame actually for Ankid, because he had such a great lead at the halfway point in this race, but that traffic certainly affected him in the end and ultimately sent him back. Maybe it would have been a good or a better idea if Ankid maybe stayed out and decided not to pit and try and just bridge more of a gap, if he could have done, to the cars behind. I'm not sure if he would have or could have been able to do that. But, yeah, might have been worth an attempt at it, trying to do a bit of an offset here to what Dandan has done today. But we are on the final lap now, so can Iron Kid get Tom? This will be his final opportunity, or one of his final opportunities. He's going to have to get the move done up into turn 4. Tom's gone a bit deep, so that's going to allow Iron Kid just to get the better exit. And now is going to be pretty much all on the back of Tom as we head up into turn 4. Is Iron Kid going to go for it? Iron Kid sends it down the inside. A bit of a late move, but got the move done. Got the move on the track. Tom is going to fight back potentially into turn 5, but with the fresher tyres, with the better tyres, Iron Kid has won out. And we will now go back to our race leader, Dandan, who is going to cross the line in literally half a lap's time to take the win of this Grand Prix. Car number 7, Kimi Raikkonen's old number, of course, followed by car number 5, Vettel's old number. It is literally like the Ferrari days of Monaco all over again, but except it's McLaren Ferrari then here at the Bahrain pre-season Grand Prix. So this is how pre-season is going to finish. Obviously, it is pre-season in the end, so I suppose, you know, there is no real, in the end, points, so it isn't going to count as a points race, but Pride is still up for grabs, and in terms of who's going to take the Pride, it's going to be Dandan. Comes out of the final corner to take the race win, and take the Grand Prix victory of this race. Iron Kid P2, Tom P3, very good drive from Tom. Top Car Vlogger P4, Breezy P5, Stuart P6, Top House Vlogger P7, Charlie in 8th, good drive from him. Man's Not Bob in 9th, unfortunate for him to end there after starting pole. Cavolis in 10th, Appledawn 11th, Zonnevild 12th, Neil 5th, 13th, then crossing the line. Kev King is going to come home in 14th, trying a 2-stop. These are the 2-stop runners now, and anyone who stopped any more times. Brian in 15th then. So we only got these two finding out also all the way to the end then here. Both of them got penalties. 4P and FCDHE then has also got it then. But that is then your ERL race of this pre-season. And there we go. We'll show you the podium obviously quickly. And then, until the next time, I hope you've enjoyed commentary from Bahrain, from pre-season. And until the championship season gets going, I'm your host or commentator, F1ology. Have a great week and see you all next week for the start, I presume, of the real season.